Okay, so last week I reviewed a movie called Smile. This is a psychological horror film that came out a few years ago. I thought it was pretty good. I think it was more of a slow burn than I thought it was going to be. And so, of course, because that movie was financially successful, Hollywood deems it so that there is a sequel. So I'm going to talk about Smile 2. I'm going to give you some of the things I liked. There's a lot that I really liked about this movie. And talk about some of the things I think the film ultimately struggles with. And then that will be my review of Smile 2. Let's discuss. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Before we get started, click on the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you know whenever I post new content. Okay, so I was a couple years late on both of these movies. Had them recommended to me. I'm a man of the people. I take requests and I review movies that people want me to review. I liked the first film. I thought it was much more like into the psychological elements than I expected it to be. And it really doubled down on like this silent, invasive creature. And it did something cool, which is like it kind of played with your expectations regarding which characters ultimately would be like housing and hosting this entity. And I think that's one of the things that they really do a great job of doubling down on in the second film. Ultimately, I think due to some twists in the movie, it ends up being sort of irrelevant in the grand scheme of things in service of the ending. Do you all of that? I'm trying very hard not to spoil the movie. But overall, I thought this movie was really good. I think it's better than the first one. I think it struggles in some areas that I was surprised about. Ultimately, the best thing about this movie is its lead performance. Naomi Scott is the central character of the film. She is in every single second of screen time. There's really not a moment at all where the story is not solely focused on her, with the exception of the first scene in the movie, which I must say is excellent. It basically takes the surviving character from the first movie and has him trying to like shake off this curse and pass it on to somebody else and like end this vicious cycle. And then things, of course, go completely wrong and south, and the curse lives on to stalk somebody else, who in this case is Naomi Scott's Sky Riley, who is a like world famous, world renowned American pop singer. So the movie then follows her. She's really kind of a messed up character, and I think that's actually a bit of a huge understatement. She's going through kind of this torment because she was in this really bad car accident that we're kind of vague on the details about. We do know that she was injured like significantly by this wreck, and that ultimately her boyfriend at the time was killed in the car crash. So the movie like deals with kind of her, I don't know if survivor's guilt is really the right word. It doesn't really tackle that particular subject, but it talks about her struggles with grief and guilt and substance and fame, and it kind of like tackles this idea of what would it be like to be a pop star who is going through like the ultimate psychological torment and can't seem to get out of her own head, and then what happens if you ultimately like put her in the circumstance of being tortured by a psychological demon. And so as a result, the movie really does go into some very dark places with those aforementioned issues: substance, cocaine, Vicodin, overdosing, losing friends to drugs, all this kind of stuff, relapsing, rehab, and essentially like all of those subjects that come along with substance struggles. So it does all of that really, really well. The movie also has some legitimately great, frightening moments. One in particular involving a stalker of Sky's that comes to like kind of haunt her has legitimately one of the scariest moments I've seen in any movie. Where it actually like gave me goosebumps, which really doesn't happen a lot. I could count on one hand the number of times a movie has genuinely like scared the shit out of me. And this movie definitely has one or two of those moments. One in particular. It also really doubles down on like the smile aspect of the creature and how that's kind of like worked into the plot line. Again, try not to spoil anything. But the movie like doubles down on some of that successful stuff from the first movie and implements it very well here. I think this movie is also much better. If you go into it knowing as little as possible, I think the movie ultimately is successful because it hinges on such a strong performance from its lead actress, who really does carry the weight of the film on her shoulders. And I overall really like this movie. I do want to talk about one thing that I think is a challenge, and that this movie really does have an ending that is kind of a carbon copy. I'd say more of like a remix of the ending from the first movie. And because we now know that A Smile 3 is being made, you're not surprised by the ending of this movie. There's nothing in this that's shocking because we've already seen it once before, and I think that's where the movie does struggle a bit. This isn't a slasher film. This is very much psychological, mental kind of anguish and torment horror. And so for what it's trying to do, the movie does that really well. I like Smile 2. I liked it better than the first one. And yeah, I'm actually excited to see what kind of direction they take the next one in. I'll probably actually see that one in the theater. So thank you for watching this review. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you like this movie better than the first one? Do you prefer the first one to the sequel? And let me know what you think. And I'll see you next Saturday, same time as always, at 9 a.m.